Welcome to Be Customer Led, where we'll explore how leading experts in customer and employee experience are navigating organizations through their own journey to be customer led, and the actions and behaviors employees and businesses exhibit to get there. And now your host, Marbu Brown.
Hi, everyone, and thanks for joining me for another episode of Be Customer Led. Joining you for these conversations is always one of the highlights of my week, and today I'm excited that we're about to delve into another great topic that is sure to pique your interest. I'm going to be speaking with Doug Kramon, who is head of customer care and fan support for ESPN and ESPN direct-to-consumer offerings at Disney. And we're going to tackle how AI is transforming customer care and fan support for fans who consume content from these properties. Welcome to the program, Doug.
Thank you, Marbu. It's great to be here. I've seen a slew of the ones that you've had in the past, and it's an honor to be here.
Well, hey, I'm so glad you agreed to join me for this conversation, and I know that we're going to be able to bring some insights to all of the folks who listen and who watch that, they will be able to use in their own journeys around customer experience in their organizations. But before we get started into our discussion about how AI is transforming customer care and support for fans who consume content from properties like ESPN and direct-to-consumer offerings, why don't we give our audience a chance to get to know you a little better? Can you share with us a bit about your career journey and how it is you came to be head of customer care and fan support at Disney for ESPN and these direct-to-consumer offerings?
Sure. I would like to say that it's obvious when you major in Native American archaeology and cultural anthropology, the only appropriate job to take on is leading a customer service program. You can clearly see that there's synergies there. And interestingly enough, They're actually great synergies. So I started my world post undergrad and grad work, not looking to do anything necessarily with business because I did have a focus doing ethnographic research, bedside ethnography, which we'll talk through a little bit about this and how valuable it is in kind of what I do today. But started in telecom, datacom, and had the opportunity during the dot-com boom to ultimately go to several startups, and one of which at the time happened to be a lot of media providers building their own mobile phone. This was back in 2005, when companies such as Disney created the first mobile phone service directly for the sports fan. And my experience building contact centers, because before that my first job was with AT&T, and at the AT&T School of Business, I learned how to build contact centers. They needed to build a customer care environment, and I had the opportunity to migrate to ESPN, Disney, and start the customer service programs there with an incredible team. And since then, the offerings that ESPN and Disney put out have only grown. So if you take a look at what we do today, I am overseeing customer service for the following pillars, and we like to refer to it as a pillar dynamic. The watch pillar, which is all things ESPN or sports through your TV provider, and direct-to-consumer streaming, where you can purchase the service ESPN Select or Unlimited directly through us, for example. The gaming pillar, the play pillar, I should say. And with the play pillar, it's all fantasy games, fantasy football, baseball, basketball, hockey, all the mini games that we offer. And that is a great deal of certification that our care agents need to have to be able to support those. We have the read pillar, because we are a news organization at ESPN. And with that, with all the articles that are produced every single week, we need to be able to ensure that our fans are accurately represented with regards to the articles that we render on mobile devices, on desktop, and making sure that those articles are accurate and correct. Because that's also moving at the speed of live publication. In addition, I do the engage pillar, which is all things social media moderation, basically supporting our fan base out in social media in real time. And lastly, the listen pillar, 900 radio stations and podcasts. And so there's always something going on in the world of live sport. And so what I have to support is moving at the speed of live, Marbu. So you caught me on a day where, I had a moment to be able to join you. So I'm happy to be able to do that.
Well, I'm very glad that you made time for us today. And that's a pretty expansive scope there that you just described. And tell us a little bit about what's involved in delivering fan support across all of those five pillars that you just described.
So, I mean, we could talk about it. It's an omni-channel environment. So what we like to do is, and this is, I think, something that has kickstarted way back with bedside ethnography. And if I can just talk kind of that, when I was in college studying Native American dynamics and cultures, there is no written history. So in order to understand the history of a lot of these Native American cultures, you had to speak to the elders in their communities. But oftentimes it wasn't really speaking. You'd ask a question. It was an immense amount of listening. And listening is really the core of what we do in our world, in my dynamic of ESPN, fan support, and customer service for such things. So, for example, how do we service our fans with such a robust set of pillars? We actually go to the events, the live sporting events, and we survey them. And we don't just do that. We survey where they happen to be. Now, with live sport, they do happen to be at a lot of these sporting events. And so we ask them specific questions with regards to if they do use the app, how they wish to reach us if there's issues with the ESPN app, or when they're on their couch watching TV, or when they're on their computer, their PC. We go through a whole set of questions of what is the most, I dare say, elegant way they wish to reach out to us. That's the most comfortable way so they can get the best support possible. I am not building a tech stack from us out to them. I am building a tech stack from the fan to us because we want to make sure that we are ensuring the level of effort that they exert is as low as possible when it comes to customer service. Yeah. And we only learn that through meeting with them on their turf, which is likely at the live sporting events, and asking these questions.
Well, that sounds great. And you did say it's omni-channel, so I imagine that you're engaging with them in a bunch of different ways, whether it's chat or voice, or tell us a little bit more about that, and then we're going to dive into some more.
The sports fan also is of all different ages. The fantasy baseball player is older and, let's say, more male than, let's say, a fan of WWE or mixed martial arts or of the NFL. They're all different demos. So they all consume content differently. Yeah. So, for example, omnichannel, we have found that SMS is our fastest growing contact channel in the domestic US. Overseas, for example, WhatsApp might be the equivalent. But in the United States, because approximately 99+% of the US population has unlimited text plans, text is something that across demographics and across age groups, everyone is familiar with how to use. And we happen to be living in a mobile-first environment here today at ESPN and with what we service. And more individuals out there are using the mobile phone for all sorts of sports consumption that they wish to communicate with ESPN directly through the mobile device. And if you're mobile first, the easiest way for many happens to be staying within the app, but also doing an SMS conversation back and forth with us so we can engage with you that way. You don't have to. We have voice, we have chat, we have SMS, we have social, we have self-service, we have agentic solutions in front of each. So we offer what our fans wish to use, and we're constantly going out there. So if it turns out that fans begin to start using, let's say, OpenAI or ChatGPT and asking us questions through that, we will need to be there, and we will.
So thank you for bringing us up to date with that. And that's great for us to get that panoramic view. So, Doug, not sure if you realize it or not, but the word fan, as we use it in sports, is just an abbreviation of the word fanatic, right? And in the best of worlds, you don't just want fans to be fanatical about their teams or their particular sports. But you want them to be fanatical about the offerings that from Disney that they consume. So how does your support team provide how does the support that your team provides help to move the needle toward that objective?
An excellent question. We are, as you pointed out, filled with customers, subscribers, what we call fans. They are fanatical about what they love, their favorite players, their favorite teams, their favorite sports. Our role is to deliver the fan to what they love, right? That's really you're reaching out to our customer service team because you're likely having a challenge
Yeah.
getting closer to the live event that you wish to consume, the game, the sport, the event, anytime, anywhere. But we also work for Disney. And at Disney, it's all about storytelling, good stories well told. And we share that in ESPN fan support. So our program is filled with sports fans. They must pass the sports assessment. And we want to make sure that also every specialist, every care specialist, isn't just a specialized care agent at the top of their game, we'll call a know-it-all, really knowing all the ins, outs, and abouts of the products, the pricing, the promotions, product interactions, product limitations, and the overall applications that we offer. But we want them to be a love-it-all as well when it comes to communicating with the fan. And this is important because this is where the fanatic element comes in. A know-it-all, we have that and we create that. But a love-it-all is something where these individuals also have to have a joy and a love of sport and what they're supporting. And a good example of that, as I think of, is Tony Romo in the NFL as a commentator. Tony Romo as a commentator is a storyteller, and he knows the NFL. He knows football really well, but he loves telling the story of what's happening in the game and how the game is evolving. And he oftentimes knows what's going to come next, and he gets excited about the play that's about to happen. And he uses terms like, I'm so excited. I can't wait to see. This is what's going to happen. And you can see the passion. It's that passion that we need to have, because when you are a fan and we are a fan, you're having a fan-to-fan dialogue. Our job is to bring you closer to what you love. We'll solve your issue, undoubtedly. But we want to do it in a way where our brand is really one that you remember as, we're just emissaries bringing you what you love in the moment that you need it. So that's a little bit what I think is our secret sauce and differentiates us. The know-it-alls better be love-it-alls, and they better love live sport.
Hey, that's very cool. And that's one of the things about service that is a differentiator and, makes people see companies that are obsessing over them that way. When it's not just doing something in a transactional way, but where that genuine passion and love comes through that they can connect to and that they can feel. So, how do you see AI helping to move the needle towards accomplishing this goal? What kind of a new capabilities does it give you that you didn't previously have that enables you to support fans better?
Sure. The challenge with AI is conceivably, it goes directly against what I just described. There's nothing authentic about AI, right? The attitude, what we say authenticitude, the attitude of being authentic about being a sports fan, right? Fan-to-fan conversation, you really can't replicate it at the moment really well with AI. We all know this, right? Crossing that Rubicon we're not there. Uncanny Valley, it's still we're just not yet. There, a human is speaking to a fellow human, whether it's digitally or via voice. That is our customer care dynamic. Now, we recognize AI is inevitable. So with that, what can I do to
but like you're saying, AI hasn't watched the game yet, right?
That's correct. And if AI watches the game, is AI excited about the game? I don't believe so, right? So with that, how can I augment my know-it-alls and love-it-alls and make it even better? And that's where AI comes into play.
Yeah.
Because the low-hanging fruit for us to really do some incredible things. Can I give a quick example of one that really stands out?
Yeah.
Great. Humans, so they consume a lot of content. And so the opportunity to talk to you. If a sports fan is great, and if you're trying to, let's say, manage your fantasy league this week, and you have a fantasy player who's injured, and you're trying to take a new player off the waiver wire to replace your injured player, let's say a quarterback, and the game is not letting you. Well, you're frustrated. You want to get this done in the moment. And the last thing you ever want to do is reach out to customer service. Takes you away from what you want to do.
Yeah.
There's effort in that. And effort is not fun when it's a negative experience. We get that. So our job is to make sure when you reach out to us, we understand that, get you on your way. We give you a +1. So what can the AI do to make me even better as a know-it-all and a love-it-all and a love-it-all and a know-it-all? It scans every ESPN.com article every day, of which we probably put out over 100 articles every day. Do you think a care agent, a human, could read all these, know every article, and be able to quote certain elements of that article? Not at all. So when you're speaking to us, the conversation, we have AI analyzing using rapid analysis of keyword extraction, rake, and much more of the conversations, and bringing up in our CRM applicable articles that are fresh. They're right off the press.
So it's doing
from
this
this
in
morning
real time.
or this afternoon in real time.
And
so
assist
the
you
care
with it.
agent sees these articles and sees more normally who to sit or who to start this fantasy week to help you win your fantasy league. And so as the care agent, I just tee that up. I say, Marbu, I hope I've answered your question and gotten you on your way. But I also want to make sure I do everything I can to help you win your league this week. Would it be okay if I share with you a great article that our editorial phenoms wrote to get you on your way? Of course you're going to say, great. We send it. You might get some great insights on it. And how do we win? More eyeballs on that article. Oh, the writer loves that. And the fan sees something and goes to ESPN.com. We also track this. We can see that they click to convert, engaged into the articles. And we want to see if, in fact, there's other things that they may like as well. But for now, we know they engaged in the article. It brought them closer to what they love. And for us, that's a win. And we see that in the CSAT. And it's making our care agent better. And the AI does all the reading. Care agent, there's no way a human could.
Yeah, one organization has described the whole notion of hospitality as making customers feel welcomed, cared for, and appreciated, right? And I think that all the things you said just now are bundled up into that. If you can use AI to help that customer feel that way, help them to feel welcomed and cared for and appreciated, I mean, that's huge. Anything else you want to see, besides, that type of agent assist type of scenario? Anything else you're thinking of?
Yeah. I mean, in customer service, we're the table stakes of AI, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
And when everybody thinks of AI, immediately they go to, customer service in some way, and they're not wrong. So think about all the things of low risk, and I'll call this low risk, that you can start into with AI and customer service.
Yeah.
Well, for example, in addition to supplying the care specialist, the fantasy specialist, with rich articles that are applicable to the conversation the fan is having with the agent, also, shouldn't the AI be doing some of the behind the scenes work that no care agent should ever want to do?
Yeah, really.
For example, disposition and tagging. In my CRM, when I receive a contact about fantasy, it's important because I probably have to bill back to the fantasy department for my budget. Many companies, if you work in customer service, you're an operating expense. Now, I am a profit center in many ways as well, but I'm also an operating expense, and I support different products, and thus there may be a bill back environment. Thus, the care agent, pre-AI, had to go into Salesforce, Zendesk, whatever, any CRM, and pick their dispositions. This contact was about fantasy. Fantasy what? Fantasy football. Well, what was the issue? Fantasy football waiver wire. That's 3 different dispositions.
Yeah.
That takes a while. The AI should do that automatically, listening to the conversation.
That's right.
And it does for us. In addition, summarization of the conversation. No one under the age of 30 these days really knows how to type. No one, Marbu, I know I might have been one of the last to take typing in high school, but I did. Nowadays, None of my care agents are great typers. I can beat any of them in typing with one hand, pretty much, because their typing skills are not there. They shouldn't necessarily need those. The AI should summarize it for them. That alone will reduce upwards of 60 to 90 seconds per every contact if their typing suffers. In
Well,
addition to
but I
that,
tell you what, Doug,
go ahead.
if the AI can summarize that for them, that gives them an opportunity to now go spend time with another customer, real
Correct.
engagement time, as opposed to time that's spent focusing on summarizing this conversation.
Yes.
As long as, the AI is doing an effective job of summarizing
Yes.
that conversation, right?
Absolutely. And if you think about what the future holds for that, the model of customer service today at many companies is be brief, be bright, be gone, right? It's been that way for quite some time because it takes effort for the customer who's frustrated to deal with customer service. You want to get them on their way. They didn't want to reach out to me. They wanted to get what they wanted to get and be happy. They don't want to reach out to customer service. It's always a problem. It's always an issue. Be brief, bright, and gone is the model. But now, if you're able to take more time delighting the
Exactly.
fan or giving them that plus one, there's so much more in customer service than there ever once could be. And that's the future of suddenly all my specialists are becoming, I dare say, rocket scientists and brain surgeons for a company, meaning the opportunity now to represent the brand in such a great way that they couldn't do before
That's right.
because they were very limited to the time they had to do it.
Well, AI adoption has been moving at like a breakneck pace. So, what kind of surprises have you encountered as you've taken the plunge into AI deployment in your environment?
And Marble, you this is something that I think is close to your heart. And you discussed this in a prior session. It was a negative surprise, but it was still eye-opening, and it's a requirement for everybody who does what I do, a practitioner of customer service, who wants to make the leap into AI. And it is this. We learned that the content to which the AI is scanning, which is our knowledge base, be it internal or external or both, was in many cases woefully out of date. We needed to stop all work with the AI and first come up with a new tool. We needed to figure out how to make a clean room environment and in our knowledge base and make everything in our knowledge base fresh. We found so much information in there decaying. Old promotions, old flows, links to our partners that were long dead, web pages that no longer rendered appropriately. And these are things that many companies, when they venture into AI, will recognize they have to address before they launch AI. We learned that through our red teaming of our AI, and we took a step back. We had to make sure that our KB was clean enough to eat. I always like to say clean enough to eat off of, right? Because it was
Great way to put
woefully
it.
out of date. And so this was a huge liability and something that we immediately had to find a solution for. So because we were moving at such a breakneck pace, that was a negative surprise, but I think it's one that everybody has to address.
Well, it is one that everybody has to address. And I think, in sharing that, you're also highlighting a misconception that people had, because I think initially when, people saw that ChatGPT could do all of these amazing things, they thought they might just be able to take generic ChatGPT, apply it to scenarios in their corporate environments and get the value. And people started quickly realizing that no, you need something that's tuned to your environment. And if it's tuned to your environment, then you got to make sure that whatever it's working from, whatever it's trained
Yes.
on, is up to date, it's curated, all of those kinds of things. And then you eliminate that awful word hallucinations, right? Which people have seen with AI, right? Well, even as you talk about that, I think you hit an important topic. And that is, what about sequencing AI investments? Because if you had those things in the wrong sequence, you are not going to get the results that you're looking for, right? I mean, tell me a little bit about what you think of in terms of how people should sequence their AI, investments for a contact center environment.
So, excellent question. And let's stick with the example that we just gave, dirty content and hallucinations. We see hallucinations. I always say it's like throwing a tractor on a 5-lane highway. You think it's elegantly going to perform, and suddenly you realize this is not the appropriate place for it. My KB being woefully out of date is a setup for hallucinations, right?
Absolutely.
So let's start then, I would say, for sequencing. Number one, start with AI facing inward. And then, when comfortable, have it look outwards towards your customers. So, for example, what we are doing right now, first and foremost, was agent augmentation with AI. So, using AI to do the following to augment the live human. What would those things be? We talked about a few of them. One, intelligent knowledge fetch and rewrite. So going to our KB, rewriting the question. So a good example of sequencing, as I said, is starting with AI facing inward, is do everything you can to help improve your care agents. It's not facing outward to the customer, it's facing inward to the care specialist. And what would those things be? Well, things that make them more efficient, more productive, and improve customer satisfaction, CSAT results. Some of those things would include intelligent knowledge fetch and rewrite. So, Marbu, if you're the customer and I'm the care agent, based on the conversation we are having, the AI is listening, whether it's voice or through the digital channels, and it's fetching the responses from multiple KB articles, rewriting them so it's an elegant response, and presenting it to the care agent. Then the care agent, what we like to say, is rounds the edges, tweaks it to make it sports fan communication, and pushes it out. No more should a care agent ever go to a knowledge base and hunt down the answer or type in the question into their CRM and wait for the KB to reply. It's automatically done elegantly. And that's just one. The other would be, as we talked about earlier, it should disposition and tag. That's two. Three, it should summarize the conversation. All of this can save across the omnichannel for every care agent anywhere between 90 seconds and 3 minutes, where suddenly you're seeing a huge improvement. And the care agents love it because what is it doing? It's doing the work that the care agent never desired to do to begin with.
Yeah.
Right?
As I think about it, I mean, like, it's interesting because you think about the scenario where these care agents sometimes were navigating all these different screens just to try to figure out the answer to a customer's question. And now instead of them having to be all focused on how do I get into this screen and how do I get into that screen, you can have AI in the background fetching it from different places and bringing that to them so they don't have to be worried about, am I in the right system and am I on the right screen and all that sort of stuff. It's just one screen and their focus is on the customer and the AI. That's huge all by itself. And you gave several more, but there's a sequence there, right? Because as you do those things, you'll be able to get to other things later on that will also have a big impact. But these things, which, I mean, they're bigger than people realize.
Yeah. Everything that is supporting the care agent is being done at speeds and accuracy no human could replicate, all with low risk because the data points, the actions within your care, this all happens within your care organization, not AI being agentic and facing out. And the good news is, if you, all I've really done, and in this example is, I've created, I dare say, an agentic bot, which we'll call agent augmentation or copilot. The bot co-pilots with the care agent. It's facing towards the care agent saying, hey, care agent, say these things and I'll do the rest for you and make it your own conversation. When it's ready, because it's all terraformed appropriately, face it towards the fan and suddenly you just have to change the dialogue. So the agentic bot speaks to the fan or the subscriber or the customer rather than the care agent. Much of the terraforming is already done. The hallucination work is already squeezed out because the KB, internal and external, should have been cleaned first. So the risk is low when it comes to sequencing. Look internal first and then look to go agentic for low-hanging fruit. Our goal is never to replace the human, because as we talked about, it wouldn't be right. We're servicing a fan, but certain things we can, right? Moves, adds, changes, and deletes, what we call MACDs, to, let's say, when you're servicing your subscription. You want to change plans, you want to upgrade, you want to downgrade, you may want to cancel, you may want to activate. Well, just like the airlines do today, you don't have to speak to a care agent for that. You do it all yourself. Well, same thing should apply when it comes to subscriptions and streaming. You do it all yourself. And we're really elegantly built for self-service. And thus, if you're struggling, there should be an agentic experience ready to be there by your side to guide you. Not a live human, but the live human goes in to be the brain surgeon, to troubleshoot the issue at a deeper level, but also give you, because we know when you reach a live human, if for some reason the agentic experience can't assist you, we want to give you a +1. We want to say thank you. We know this has been frustrating. And we do our best to make sure that we give you something that you appreciate, that you value, and you surprise, to make sure that your care experience was one that you remember in a positive way. Because after all, it's the brand that you think of when it comes to that.
Hi there, Be Customer-Led listeners and viewers. Thanks for joining me for this episode of Be Customer-Led, and I'm really sorry to interrupt the episode right at this point, but Doug and I talked for a little bit longer than we usually do on these episodes, so we decided to make this into 2 episodes instead of just 1, and this is a great breaking point for us to make that split, because Doug and I were just about to turn the corner from talking about using AI to assist agents to talking about AI agentic agents. Believe me, there is a lot more great content in part 2 of this episode, and I'm going to ask you to come back and join me again next week for the rest of it. You won't want to miss it because, like I said, there's a lot of great content ahead. So thanks for joining us this week, and make sure to join us again next week on Be Customer-Led. But for now, that's all, folks.
Thanks for listening to Be Customer-Led with Marbu Brown. We are grateful to our audience for the gift of their time. Be sure to visit us at becustomerled.com for more episodes. Leave us feedback on how we're doing, or tell us what you want to hear more about. Until next time, we're out.